If you're a brand new CTE teacher or you're about to become one, I can almost guarantee you've already heard this. Build relationships. And you'll hear it again from your department chair, from your mentor, from every comment section on every teaching post you will ever read.
Welcome to the Secondary Teacher Podcast, the podcast for middle and high school teachers juggling multiple preps to get the strategies to reduce overwhelm so that you don't have to choose between being an effective teacher and prioritizing important relationships. I'm your host, Khristen Massic, a 10-year high school engineering teacher, former middle school assistant principal, and teacher coach. Every week, we will discuss strategies, systems, and time-saving tips to help you not only survive but thrive as a multiple prep teacher.
I do want to be upfront though. This is not bad advice and it's not wrong. Relationships matter enormously in a classroom. Students learn better when they feel known, when they feel safe, when they feel connected to the teacher in the room. But here's the thing. I think there's something missing from that advice that nobody is saying out loud. And today I want to say it because if you're a new CTE teacher, a new multi-prep teacher coming from industry or coming fresh out of student teaching, you're walking into a classroom with multiple preps, hands-on projects, mixed grade levels, and students who are still deciding if they want to even be there. Relationships alone are not going to be enough. And you are not wrong for feeling like there needs to be more. I want to tell you about something I've observed. There's a teacher, relatively new, finishing up their second or third year, who teaches in my building. And this teacher has something a lot of new teachers don't. Students genuinely like them, like really like them. The classroom energy is good, students show up, there's a real connection there, and that's not nothing. That's actually really hard to build, and this teacher has it. And early on, I watched this teacher do something genuinely creative. They were covering a concept related to aerodynamics, and they took the class out to the field house to throw frisbees. Real application of the concept, hands-on, engaging, the kind of thing that makes students remember a lesson. And I remember thinking, that's a teacher with good instincts. And here's what I started noticing over time. The frisbee didn't stay connected to aerodynamics. It just became frisbee. Half of the class period, instruction, the other half, field house, every time. And I don't think this teacher is lazy. I don't think they stopped caring. I think what happened is they found something students enjoyed, something that felt like a win, and they kept returning to it. Because when you're a new teacher and something works relationally, when students are happy and the room feels good, it is really tempting to keep doing that thing. But eventually, the cracks showed up somewhere else. I was talking to a parent of a former student, and they had been in this teacher's class and genuinely liked it. They liked the teacher, they liked the environment, but the student hadn't signed up for any of the follow-up courses. And when the parent explained why, it wasn't anything dramatic. It was simply, it didn't feel like they learned very much. They felt like they could have learned more. That student liked the teacher. They just didn't feel like the class was worth continuing. And that, right there, is the cost of relationships without structure that nobody talks about in those comment sections full of just build relationships advice. Students trust teachers they like, but they return to classrooms when they feel like they're actually learning something. Those are two different things, and you need both. I want to be really clear. This is not a character flaw. It's a predictable pattern, especially for CTE teachers coming from industry, because here's the thing about coming from industry. You know your content cold. You know culinary or construction or video production or engineering or business. You have real world experience that most teachers don't have, and that students genuinely respond to. But knowing your industry and knowing how to structure learning for teenagers, those are two completely different skills. And most industry professionals turned teachers have never been taught the second one. So what happens when you run out of a lesson? You improvise. And improvisation feels okay at first, especially when students are having fun. But improvisation without structure underneath, it eventually becomes filler. And filler erodes the thing you worked so hard to build. Because students, especially middle and high school students, are perceptive in ways we sometimes underestimate. They can feel the difference between a class that has direction and a class that's making it up as it goes. Even if they can't articulate the way that this parent did. They feel it. Here's what I wish someone had said in those comment sections. Relationships are actually easier to build inside a structured classroom. Not harder, easier because structure creates trust. When students know what to expect, when the lesson has a recognizable shape, when routines are consistent, when the teacher seems grounded in what they're doing, students relax. They stop spending energy figuring out what's happening next. And that freed up energy, it goes toward connection, toward learning, toward the kind of engagement that makes CTE classroom feel alive. The Frisbee wasn't wrong because it was fun. It became a problem because it was a substitute for structure rather than an addition to it. And that distinction matters enormously for new CTE teachers trying to figure out what sustainable teaching actually looks like. So what does instructional structure actually look like in a CTE or career technical education classroom? Because I think that's where the advice usually stops. At you need more than relationships without telling you what you actually need more of. Here's where to start. A repeatable lesson flow. This is the single most protective thing a new teacher can build. When your lessons follow a consistent shape, when students know there's an opening, a work period, and a close, you stop improvising the architecture for every class period. You just fill in the structure with content. This is exactly what the Introduce, Practice, Produce framework is designed to do. Students encounter something new, they practice it, they produce something with it. That 3-part shape works across almost every CTE subject, whether you're teaching culinary, construction, design, or business. And when you have that shape, running out of lesson becomes much harder because you know what phase you're in and what comes next. Routines students can count on, not rigid scripts, just consistent patterns. How does the class start? What do students do when they finish early? What does the transition from instruction to hands-on work look like? These aren't administrative details. They're the connective tissue that holds a class period together, and they're what prevent the now what moment that leads to Frisbee becoming a permanent fixture, a back pocket activity. Every teacher needs at least one, something low prep, flexible, and ready to deploy when a lesson runs short or a plan falls apart. Would you rather questions can be either something that students can get to know each other with, or they can also be tied back to your content. A quick partner discussion, a reflection prompt, a short review challenge, not filler, a planned pivot. Because the difference between a teacher who handles unexpected time gracefully and one who defaults to the Fieldhouse Frisbee, it's not talent, it's preparation. I want to come back to that student who didn't sign up for any of those higher level courses because I don't think that outcome was inevitable. That teacher had real strengths, genuine connection, student buy-in, creative instincts. The aerodynamics and Frisbee lesson was actually good. It had a concept behind it. It had application. It had engagement. What it needed was a structure around it that made that kind of lesson the rule rather than the exception, because the goal isn't to choose between relationships and structure. The goal is to build classrooms where students feel connected and feel like they're learning something worth coming back for. That's not less relational. That's what makes relationships sustainable. So if you're a new CTE teacher walking into your first classroom this fall, or second, third, fourth, or even fifth year, and something still isn't clicking, you're not wrong for wanting more than build relationships. You need planning systems, instructional structure, repeatable routines, strategies that help students actually move through learning instead of just enjoying the room. That's not in conflict with connection. That's what makes connection meaningful. If you want help building those systems, grab the free secondary teacher planning calendar in the show notes. It's designed specifically for secondary teachers and CTE teachers managing multiple courses and hands-on classrooms without feeling like they have to reinvent every class period from scratch. And if you're ready to build your first unit with a repeatable structure underneath it, the Unit Planning Lab waitlist is also in the show notes. Finish something that makes tomorrow lighter. Until next time.